this is certainly a first. Something happened where my left wiper arm just broke and it's hanging somewhere down there in the wiper cowl. I don't think it's gonna fly out, but I'm gonna pull over to try to get that out of the way. But this is like hypercar status where it's got a single wiper blade stuck in the middle. It's pretty wild. Well, I guess we should see what broke. All right, see the carnage. Okay, broken wiper blade. Okay. So the arm itself is still attached. Oh, here we go. Look at that, it's manual mode. Alright, so surprisingly, the wiper arm didn't break. The wiper blade broke whenever it made contact with this side, but definitely the wiper transmission underneath here needs replaced. So I'll be curious to see the carnage. Sometimes worn out bushings it'll pop out, but likely the way this thing went, I'm gonna say the wiper transmission is actually broke. We'll save that. Temporarily, just to get home, I was able to swap the wiper blade from the passenger side to the driver's side. I was able to easily put that wiper arm on the passenger side down into the wiper cowl, and now, as I hit this, check that out. I now have at least one working wiper blade. How's it going, my Saab friends? My name is Gary, and this is my channel, Weakest of Weeks. If you're a first-time viewer, I appreciate you clicking on the video and definitely consider subscribing. Now, today's video, we're going to be replacing the wiper linkage under the windshield cowl here on my 2008 Saab 9.3 Aero, but this process will be identical for any new Gen 9.3. That's 2003 to 2011/2012. So I have a replacement second-hand unit right here, and without further ado, let's go ahead and show you how to replace this. Here are the tools that I'm going to be using to complete this job. I have a 3/8 inch ratcheting wrench, a 6-inch 3/8 extension, have a 3-inch 3/8 extension, a 10mm socket, a 13mm socket, 3/4 inch wrench. Now a ratcheting version may simplify and speed up the process for you. We have a flat blade screwdriver, we have a very small flat blade screwdriver, as well as a hook or pick tool. Now this is totally optional, but you'll use these two in combination to remove the cap on the wiper arm. Now the only thing specialty tool wise related here is this particular tool. This is what's called a pitman arm puller, or sometimes called a tie rod end puller. Now what this will do is give us the extra force and oomph to get off that stubborn wiper arm. Now there is a specialty wiper arm puller tool like this right here. However, just because the Saab 9.3 new gens are bulky, this is not going to work. So you can use a heavy-duty wiper arm puller, but most brick and mortar auto parts stores will carry this pitman arm puller in stock, and it is reasonably priced. Worst case, you can get it on the interwebs, but I will link this in the description, and that's all you need. Here's a closer look at the carnage. Now this wiper blade is broke. It should actually go on the end up there, but the little clip is broke. And then this one, it still sort of works. There's a ton of play in here. And basically what has happened is this bushing right here let go, and it should go on that socket right there. But this bushing is overdue for replacement. And then this wiper arm, while it is still attached, there is a ton of play in here. So this bushing, it's only a matter of time before that one goes too. So in a pinch, I was able to swap the wiper blade from this one to here because this one was still sort of working, but this one was not. It's just kind of stuck where it's at. I mean, you can just freely move it, but I don't really want to move it too much and scratch the windshield. So we'll get this stuff out of the way. That's garbage. We'll get this cowl off, and this is pretty simple. There's just a couple push pins, one on each side. We'll lift this seal up, and then you can kind of peek into here and see what exactly is going on. But let's go ahead and pull this loose, and then we need to pull off these cap covers for these wiper arms to expose the 13mm nuts to undo those. Let's get a little screwdriver, or sometimes your fingernail, push in on the push pin. That's all it takes to release that. remove the rest of this weather stripping, and then the only thing really holding this in is going to be the wiper arms themselves. Getting this little cap off is probably honestly the worst part of this whole disassembly process. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of painter's tape around the edge, and we'll get either a hook tool, something like this, or like a small eyeglass screwdriver set, and just kind of work our way around here to pop this out. But there is a relief in here. We'll definitely attack it from this side first, but to prevent scratching any of this up, we'll definitely try to protect it first with a little bit of painter's tape. Got the 13 mil on the end of the 3/8 strap ratchet. Now, because this wiper arm is the one with the broken side of the linkage, it's going to move about, so I need to get my hand on here, and we'll try to really break this thing loose. Usually these are pretty tight. Here's a standard wiper arm puller tool, and this is why it doesn't work. You can slide it in here, and no matter what you do, this stud that runs through here will not center on this stud. The wiper arm is just too big, so this doesn't work. Some people try to pull up and tug on here. You definitely risk damaging the linkage underneath here. Now, it doesn't matter if it's already broke like mine, but you can mess up the splines inside this wiper arm. Here is that pitman arm puller tool. Very simple process. This will slide underneath here, but real quick, you can screw this down and it pulls it from underneath. Now, it has a small protrusion here that we will line up with the stud right there. Now we're going to spin this clockwise, and it should release the wiper arm. Now this side's a little more complex because the hood is somewhat in the way, but still very doable. Here's what it looks like with that wiper cowl removed. So this is the bushing that popped out that should go here, and that's why this one wasn't doing anything. It was freely moving. Now this is totally blown out. Look at this. So it's got a very worn out bushing down there, an extremely blown out bushing right there. So this is long overdue. Now, some people, and including myself, have attempted to replace just the bushings. Oh my gosh, this one just fell off. That's how blown out this thing is. But some people, like I said, including myself, have attempted to replace just these bushings before. From experience, yes, you can. However, it didn't really work in my case. It ended up popping off. So this one, because it needs all of the bushings, I would say it's definitely not worthwhile to rebuild. It's just easier to replace. Now we have a couple 10mm bolts to remove. We have one right here, the second here, a third right here, and a fourth somewhat hidden, but right there. So then once we remove those, there is an electrical connector right here. We'll need to lift up on this tab to remove that, and then we should be able to finagle out this original wiper linkage. Last thing we need to do is remove this electrical connector before we can remove this wiper linkage. Now this usually resides right here, but unfortunately my clip is long gone and broken. So we just need to get our screwdriver in here and lift up on this red tab. This is the linkage that came out of the car. This is the linkage that's going to be going in it. Now, the main difference is the style of bushing. So this came from an older 9.3. This came from a 05, whereas the car that I'm replacing it in is a 2008. So somewhere along the line, 07, 08, I believe they changed the bushing style. Now, I wanted to complete this immediately, so I was fortunate to go to my local junkyard and pull this 05 unit. So you can still actually buy these linkages brand new, with or without the motor, but I was able to get it next day from when my original problem happened at my local junkyard. So if you're interested in seeing those type of junkyard adventures, I have a whole series. I will link it in the description or put a card in the top right of the video, and you can check it out. I'm always scoring some really awesome Saab parts for cheap. So some people do prefer this newer style because you can rebuild the bushings. However, I've never really had any success for that. You're always stuck using a universal bushing, pressing it in, but it's never really worked out for me. Now, I will say the main difference between the 05s and the 08s, somewhere along the line, 07, 08, they did change the wiper arm style. The actual wiper arms are transferable. However, the difference you need to pay attention to is the end. The older versions used a hook style wiper blade mounting system, whereas somewhere in 07, 08, they switched to this bigger blocky style. But you can use these newer wiper arms on the older linkages and vice versa. Just note they are specific left to right. Before I install the new to me linkage, I'm gonna go ahead and shop vac out all of the crud in here. Also too, make sure, since you have this open, take a look at your cabin air filter and either clean it or replace it. Now's the best time to go ahead and do it. You can see all of this crap in here, and just think, this is the air you're breathing inside the vehicle. So while you have everything out, you might as well change out the filter. Also, not a bad idea to clean out the drain. How much crud is in here? Going to tighten these 10 mils back up. Plug in the connector, not a bad idea to put a little bit of dielectric grease in there. Push the little maroon colored tab down, and usually you would just clip it into here, but because my clip is gone, I think I'm just gonna zip tie that in here. That way when the linkage is moving, it doesn't catch up on this and rip any electrical wires out. With everything working, we're ready to put this plastic cowl back in place. Now there is going to be a couple clips up here. If you do have trouble, just get a trim removal tool and push up whenever you remove it. But in my case, they popped out pretty simply. And you just push down, locks into place. Next up, we have the two little plastic push pins. Go ahead and get them to like such. We'll line them up and then just push down, and that's what locks them into place. But before we do that, they need to look just like that. Got the weather stripping. And lastly, the wiper arms. Now these wiper arms are splined, so you really can orient these any which way. What I recommend doing, obviously you want to test the wiper motor and the linkage that you just installed. So once everything is in, hooked up, go ahead and test it, make sure everything works. Turn off the wipers and then pull the key out. That way they're in the lowest resting position. Now what this does is really tell you where everything needs to go, and you need to have the wiper blades on it before you cinch these down. You don't want to have these too far down, because when you do that, when the wiper blade comes down, it will make contact with this wiper cowl and it will tear your wiper blades up. So just note that. So mine are going to go around right there. Take your 13mm nuts and cinch them down. Look at that, working beautifully. With everything tested and working perfectly, nothing is colliding. These stop exactly before it contacts with this lower wiper cowl. You may need to double check the tightness after you run it for a little bit, testing it. But now, once you are happy with where everything's at, you can just simply put these caps right back into place, just like such. And that's it. If this video helped you out, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Definitely consider subscribing. I have a ton of how-to stuff out there, and especially Saab-related videos. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you friends next time.